What I say now is, look, our vocabulary is not adequate for this. A term like monotheism, because when we hear it, we think that means only one Elohim exists.
Yes.
That is inadequate because the scripture says otherwise.
I guarantee people watching, if you ask them,
Yeah,
are you monotheistic?
right, right.
I don't know what the percentage would be, but it would be pretty high.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And because we've been trained, there's one God. And so, and yet,
And there is only one of those.
yes, one most high.
Right. But there are lots of Elohim. So right away, even in this little exchange, we can see that we have a terminology problem.
Yes.
Because what we've done is we've taken a 17th century term, that's when monotheism enters the lexicon
Okay.
in English, and we're using a 17th century term to describe what an ancient person thought.
Okay.
So we've got a fundamental problem. Now, I believe that there is one unique, deity called Yahweh.
Yes.
All right? Yahweh, the God of the Bible, is, I like to use the phrase, species unique. There
Okay.
really is none like him.
Yeah.
Okay?
So he's not a first amongst equals.
He's not the first amongst equals. He's not, just sort of one of many that are sort of interchangeable parts. Okay, that
Yeah.
is not what biblical theology teaches. Biblical theology teaches, look, there's lots of Elohim, members of the heavenly host, if that's more comfortable. There's lots of Elohim, but only one of them is Yahweh.
Yeah.
Only one of them is the creator, is omnipotent,
Yes.
is omniscient, all these things that we're used to. It's just that our vocabulary for expressing that idea actually gets in the way of the biblical text.
Huh.
When we encounter like plural Elohim here, we
Yeah.
don't know what to do with it. So we have people, commentators. I mean, I could take you to commentators. Oh, the gods here are just men. Well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense because again, if you go down to verse 6,
I'm going to judge you
they're
like.
sons of the Most High, which are sons of God. There is only one Most High. We know who that is. It's
Yeah.
not a brain teaser. So there's sons of God. And then if you go to Psalm 89, you have the sons of God there in a council, just like Psalm 82, but it's in the skies. It's in the heavenlies.
Okay.
I mean, you don't have a bunch of Jewish leaders, ruling
Yeah.
from the skies. I mean, it doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense. But people don't probe it, that far.
Yeah.
They either react to it because of the whole monotheism thing, and it's like, look, I understand it. I was there for many years
Yeah.
until I got confronted with the text. And so what I say now is, look, our vocabulary is not adequate for this. A term like monotheism, because when we hear it, we think that means only one Elohim exists.
Yes.
That is inadequate because the scripture says otherwise.
Yeah, and it
Psalm
doesn't
82
make
and-
sense to not have other
Right.
God, not worship.
Yahweh is the God of gods. Well, not really, because there aren't any other ones. Well, again,
Yeah.
it doesn't make a whole lot of sense in a lot of passages, but we define monotheism that way. So what my advice to people is, look, dump the terminology.
So
Just-
what
just-
about?
just
So I'm
don't
going to
even
bring up
use-
one more term.
Okay.
Henotheism.
Yeah.
Which sounds a little more accurate, which is like we believe there's multiple gods, but one.
But we only worship one. And
But we only
one's
wor-
better
yes.
than all the others. Yeah.
So are we better off not having any?
See, I'm
Don't identify
right.
as.
I'm saying dump them all.
Okay.
And here's why. Monotheism is confusing because we define it as meaning only one, Elohim exists. That is not the case, according to Scripture. So that one doesn't really work. Henotheism is a little bit more descriptive, but the problem with henotheism is that in henotheistic systems, the deity that is judged to be the best might not be the best tomorrow. In other words, he's
So
the
he can
best.
get voted off.
Or he can get voted off the island.
Usurped.
You have to ask yourself, well, why do you think he's the best? Well, he did
Okay.
something great for us. He won this battle. But tomorrow he might lose. Biblical writers
Yeah.
aren't thinking that at all.
Okay.
There is no sense that Yahweh could be displaced.
Mm-hmm.
So that one doesn't really work either. Monolatry is an academic word that you worship only one, and that's good because we do worship only one as believers. But the problem with monolatry is it doesn't say anything about attributes. What biblical writers believe was that there were many Elohim, only one of them is Yahweh. He is unique when it comes to a specific set of attributes. So Yahweh is an Elohim. There's a bunch of those, but no other Elohim is Yahweh.
Yeah.
So I say, look, just describe what it is you believe. Just describe what a biblical writer would believe about the uniqueness of Yahweh and the God of Israel. Don't try to stick a label on it, because the label is not going to work somewhere in the discussion.